He stood beside the queen's throne without armor, without weapons, wearing simple dark clothing that marked him as a civilian, not a warrior. His posture was calm, almost relaxed, as if the vast hall of crystal and living metal was no more intimidating than a quiet room. Around him, nobles from a dozen star systems whispered behind glowing veils and shifting crests. This was the human husband of the queen, and no one understood why she had chosen him. Queen Lyra sat upon the throne of light, her many advisors arranged in a careful semicircle below. Her people were tall, luminous beings, their eyes reflecting spectra beyond human sight. To them, power was visible. Strength glowed. Authority resonated like gravity. The human radiated none of that. His name was Elias. He had arrived years ago. As part of a small diplomatic mission from Earth, a young species newly emerged onto the galactic stage. Humans were classified as physically fragile, technologically uneven, emotionally unstable. Interesting, perhaps. Dangerous, no? Yet somehow, Elias had spoken to the queen as an equal, not with arrogance, not with fear, with understanding, with patience. That, more than anything, had unsettled her court. Now the hall was full again. But the mood was very different. An armada had entered the system. The invaders were ancient conquerors, a coalition that had erased civilizations older than Lyra's people. Their demand was simple: surrender the throne world, dismantle the fleets, and offer the queen herself as a symbol of submission. Refusal meant extinction. The queen's generals argued strategy. Her admirals calculated losses. Her advisors whispered about evacuation, about sacrificing outer colonies to buy time. Elias listened in silence. When the council paused, Queen Lyra turned her gaze toward him. Her voice, when she spoke, carried a tremor she did not hide. "What does your world advise?" Several nobles stiffened. Some looked offended, others amused. "Why ask the human?" Elias stepped forward, his boots echoing softly against the living floor. He did not bow, but he inclined his head slightly, a human gesture of respect. "My world advises caution," he said, "and preparation." One of the generals let out a soft laugh, a sound like chiming glass. "We have prepared for centuries. Your people have barely touched the stars." Elias did not react. "That is true," he said. "But preparation does not always look the same." Another advisor leaned forward. "If you have some hidden fleet, now would be the time to speak." "There is no hidden fleet," Elias replied. The whispers returned. Sharper now, Queen Lyra raised her hand, and silence fell. She studied her husband's face, searching for something only she seemed to sense. "Then what are you suggesting?" Elias took a slow breath. "I am suggesting that you allow me to speak to the invaders." Shock rippled through the hall. "You are not a ruler," one noble snapped. "You are not even of this galaxy." "I am human," Elias said calmly. "And they know us." It drew attention. "They have encountered us before?" the queen asked. "Yes," Elias replied. "Briefly they dismissed us." Several advisors smiled at that, relief flickering across their expressions. Dismissed meant ignored. Elias continued, his voice steady. "They dismissed us because they saw what you see. Single human, limited strength, limited reach, no visible power." Queen Lyra felt a strange tightening in her chest. "And that was a mistake?" Elias met her gaze. For a moment something old and heavy moved behind his eyes. "Yes, my queen, it was." Permission was granted despite fierce objections. The invader's envoy appeared as a towering hologram above the receiving chamber, his form armored and sharp, eyes burning with cold certainty. It did not bow. "You have come to accept terms," it said. "I have come to deliver a message," Elias replied. The envoy paused, clearly recalibrating. "You are not the sovereign." "No," Elias agreed. "I am human." The envoy scanned him. "Irrelevant." Elias smiled faintly. "You should have paid more attention." The envoy's eyes narrowed. "Speak." Elias clasped his hands behind his back. "You see, conquest is strength, size, firepower, obedience. Humanity once thought the same." Once the envoy scoffed. "Yes," Elias said. "Before we learned what power actually is." The envoy leaned closer. "You waste time," Elias looked up at the massive fleet visible through the chamber's transparent ceiling. Thousands of warships, bristling with weapons that could crack planets. You believe victory is decided by what you can destroy, Elias said. Humans learn something different. Victory is decided by what you can endure. The envoy raised an arm, energy gathering. This conversation ends now. Elias did not move. Instead, he spoke one word, quietly, clearly, activate. Nothing happened. Then everything did. Across the system, invisible threads awakened. Not ships, not weapons, in the traditional sense. Signals buried in background radiation. Algorithms seeded into ancient communication relays. Fail-safes written into shared galactic infrastructure centuries ago, quietly maintained by human hands that never sought credit. The invaders' fleet faltered. One ship blinked out, its drives locked in an endless loop. Another lost internal gravity. A third fired on empty space as its targeting systems rewrote themselves. "What have you done?" the envoy roared. Elias lowered his hands to his sides. His voice was still calm. "We listened. We learned. We waited." Queen Lyra watched the tactical feeds explode with chaos. Her admirals stared in disbelief as enemy formations collapsed without a single shot fired from her. "Own fleet, you did not bring weapons," she whispered. Elias turned slightly, meeting her gaze across the chamber. "We brought restraint." The envoy's image flickered. "This is impossible. You are too young." Elias nodded. "That is what you thought." He stepped closer to the hologram, his small human form dwarfed by the projection. "Humans are fragile. Individually, our bodies break easily. Our worlds are vulnerable, so we learn to build power where it could not be seen." The envoy tried to disengage, failed. "You cannot win," it snarled. "Even if you cripple us here, others will come." Elia's expression hardened, just slightly. "We know." He raised his gaze, and for the first time the envoy hesitated. "Which is why this is not a threat," Elias said. "It is a demonstration." With a subtle gesture, he triggered the final sequence. Across the enemy fleet, every system restored itself. Weapons powered down, drives unlocked, damage reversed as if time itself had stepped back. The invaders were whole again. The silence that followed was absolute. Elias spoke into it.
"We could have ended you."
"We chose not to." The envoy's voice was no longer confident. "Why? Because humans do not need to prove power through destruction," Elias said. "We prove it through choice." The hologram dimmed, then bowed. "We withdraw," the envoy said, "and we will remember." Connection ended. In the great hall, no one spoke. Queen Lyra descended from her throne, her luminous form dimmer now, her thoughts in turmoil. She approached Elias slowly, as if seeing him for the first time. "All this time," she said softly, "you carried this within you." Elias shook his head. "Not within me, within us." She studied his face, searching for pride, for triumph. She found only exhaustion. "Why did you never tell me?" she asked. Elias smiled gently. "Because you did not marry me for my power." The court watched as their queen placed her hand over his. A gesture of unity that transcended species. "They will fear you now," she said. "Fear fades," Elias replied. "Understanding lasts longer." Queen Lyra turned to her people, her voice strong once more. "Let this day be remembered, not as the day we were saved, but as the day we learned what true power looks like." The nobles bowed. The generals lowered their heads, and for the first time in generations, the galaxy reconsidered its assumptions about humanity. Not because humans were the strongest, but because, when they revealed their true power, they chose mercy over domination. And that choice shook the stars.